This episode is brought to you by Humble Love Magnesium Cream. Great for sleep, stress, and pain. A woman is a crown, not a curse. In this episode of Bright Hearth, we continue with the 6th installment, a short series entitled A Homemaker's Rules for Life, where we're working through some foundational principles in the life of the homemaker. What are we prone to forget in the thick of a busy day, week, and month? What truths does she need to be tethered to in the gales of motherhood, the pressure of keeping a home, and the business of a productive life lived before the Lord? For many of you, these won't be brand new ideas. Most of what we need to hear doesn't fall in that category after all. Did I snap at my kids because I just didn't know that I shouldn't have? Was a woman disrespectful to her husband because no one ever told her that she shouldn't be? Of course not. We all need to be reminded of these things from time to time. And so the 6th rule goes like this: a woman is a crown, not a curse. The Proverbs echo with this point. Proverbs 12:4 says, "An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones." Proverbs 31:10 says, "An excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels." She's a crown adorning her husband's head. She is more precious than jewels, bringing far more gain into her household than a pile of sparkling diamonds. So in this episode of Bright Hearth, we'll talk about what this means and how a woman can shine as a crown, not bring death and shame as a curse in her home.
Welcome back to a special afternoon edition of Bright Hearth, everybody.
You guys have no idea what was sacrificed for this episode.
I think it's mostly that it's hard for me in the middle of the day to go from work mode to podcast mode. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
If we do it at night, it's kind of like all the work is worked up, but I'm still fretting over my afternoon.
This is the thing, we've zeroed in, like as our kids have surrounded us and all of the activities of life, the number of hours in a week where it's even possible to record Bright Hearth is
very
quite
hard.
limited. So when one thing goes wrong this week, it was Monday and we're set to record Monday evening at our normal time, which is actually a great time for it. We have the right energy.
Yeah,
and all
it's
that.
fine.
But then
I put the kids down for an early nap. I came home still kind of like early afternoon and was going to finish cooking dinner. It was really hot in the house. Mm-hmm. And Cyril said, "Mom, none of the lights are turning on."
Uh-oh.
So our power was out for over 12 hours that day.
Yeah, it was out till 5:30 a.m., like 5:28 to be precise, according to the internet connectivity that sent me an email and said it was back up. And it was so hot upstairs because it's in the 90s during the day. And our house is like from the 80s.
It doesn't stay cool on a hot day anyway.
Even with the air conditioning on, some parts of the house are about 80 at the peak. Okay. So we quickly retreated to the basement.
But you also left the kids at class. My phone died. I had no way to charge my phone.
Oh my goodness.
So I didn't realize, I was thinking, oh, he's late because he remembered to go get the kids.
No.
And then I thought, I can't even, our other house, we could at least cook dinner, but the stove here, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we kind of gave up and went out to dinner to one of our favorite restaurants.
We had a good dinner. We said the Lord wanted us to go out to eat. And man, what a great
I read
barbecue.
late into the night because it was so hot.
Even in the basement, it was hot. You guys wanted to know all that. We needed to fuss a little bit to let you know the circumstances of why we find ourselves during nap time in the middle of the day recording Bright Hearth. I just got done recording King's Hall.
I think it's helpful to hear stuff like that because
they need to know.
I need to know other people are normal too.
You need to understand that your Bright Hearth podcasters we're just like you.
We wish it was Monday, but it is now Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. I recorded King's Hall for like 2.5 hours with Eric. Actually, really good episode, I think, on leadership and Christian Burroughs. And I looked at my watch and I was like, Eric, I have to go right now. Like we have to land this plane. Hung up that drove home to come here to our recording setup. And I was like, well, I'm warmed up. So here we go. With another one. Hey, I did just want to say thanks to everybody, all of you Bright Hearth listeners, because you guys have seriously kind of blown our planning out of the water a little bit with Lexy's book, where we're like, yeah, let's order this many 1,000 copies. And then we are teetering on the brink of like, wow, guys, at this rate, we're like a month away from being completely sold out of Lexy's book. So we did just put in a new order to have a second print run of Wisdom on Her Tongue, which is the fastest we have ever had to reorder a book by like a lot. And we've noticed that a lot of you guys are ordering it in 5 to 10 or 15 or even 20 copies to go through with groups. And we think it's great for that. So thank you guys for the support on that front. We have seen great reviews from you guys on Goodreads as well as our website, where it just seems like it's hitting where we wanted it to.
It's on Goodreads now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's like, you're like 4.9 stars and have 50 to 60 reviews already. So
our local Titus 2 girls group, like the high school age, they did it as part, well, I think they're doing it right now as part of their summer book group, which has surprised me how many teenage, like unmarried, not all teenagers, but like unmarried and teenage girls are really finding it helpful. So I didn't anticipate that when writing that, but so if you have daughters, you know,
the principles apply.
Yeah.
I actually think it could be particularly helpful in that front to set the principles first instead of like most of us figure these things out.
To marriage, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Most of us were like, oh, so that fight we just had, oh, there's a principle that would have been helpful.
Yeah, this can apply to anything. Yeah, that's true.
So you can still get a copy, newchristendompress.com/wisdom, or just go to New Christendom Press. It's right there on the front page. And if you do want to buy 5 or more copies, there's a discount code right on the page. I think it's bulk15, all caps, bulk15. You get 15% off because it is so much more cost effective for us to ship it in bulk like that. And if you want to order a case, which is 64 copies or more, just shoot us an email at info@newchristendompress.com, and we can organize an even bigger discount that way.
I have an idea related to the book that I'll tell you about later, but I'm telling you now so I don't forget.
So you don't forget. Excellent. So thank you guys, and also thank you to all of our patrons at Patreon. We have a great community there that has been supporting the show for a long time, and that helps us just keep it going, and also pay all of our employees that a lot of hands touch a show like Bright Hearth before it gets to your ears. So just thank you. I was very blown away by the book support, and it really encouraged me. And then seeing the reviews, just like it's worth the effort that it takes to publish a book, write, edit, publish, all of it that goes into it. And so just thankful to see the fruit from that, and wanted to just say that to you guys. So that said, we are here in the 6th installment of this Homemaker's Rules for Life series. And we're talking about one that can really go in a lot of different directions. It's a broad rule, but I think it is foundational and important for women to keep in front of them. And the reason is that the scriptures genuinely don't spend an enormous amount of time talking about the differences between men and women. Most of the Bible is not about that. It's about the glory of God in salvation through judgment. It's about the gospel. It's about, Christ redeeming sinners from their sin, his covenant people. It's about all that. And that's what we're thankful that it's about that. But then when it comes to the order of our lives and teaching men how to be men and women how to be women, we have these sections of concentrated instruction like the household codes in Paul's letters and in Peter's writing. We have the Proverbs, lots of sexed piety, particularly to young men, but also to women as well. We have Song of Solomon and the Psalms. But when the scripture says something particular about womanhood or about manhood, we should pay attention because of that. It's probably something really important for us to get. And this one from Proverbs 12:4, that an excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. This is one of those passages, Proverbs 31, that she's more precious than jewels, the excellent wife. This is one such passage that we need to pay attention to, meditate on, and women will gain great benefit from doing so in learning what is the target I'm aiming to be by the grace of God as a woman and a wife, and also even for a man in thinking, what kind of wife do I want to help my wife become as I wash her in the water of the word? And even for a young man who's not yet married, what kind of woman should I be looking to marry? These are all very, very central and important things. If you're like us, you're intentional with how you care for your family. what they eat, read, even how they rest. But most people don't realize chronic magnesium deficiency is common. That's why we use Humble Love's Magnesium Cream. Made by a husband and wife team, it's crafted with real nourishing ingredients. No synthetics ever. Safe for the whole family, gentle for kids, and strong enough to bring deep relief. Make it part of your daily routine by visiting thehumblelifestore.com. That's thehumblelifestore.com. And use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your first jar. A good morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. You read your Bible, review your to-do list, and drink a great cup of coffee. So why would you want bad-tasting, mass-produced coffee? Lux Coffee is a Christian-owned coffee roaster that offers intentionally sourced, single-origin coffee beans. They believe that convenience is the death of quality. That's why they spend their time roasting small batches of beans to make sure that every cup of coffee tastes delicious. Start your day with coffee that is crafted for the new Christendom. You can go to luxcoffee.co and use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your handcrafted coffee. And of course, that link is in the description below. Look, Bright Hearth listeners, my lawyers have told me that I'm not allowed to guarantee that using Indigo Sundry Soap Company products will make you more attractive, but I am guaranteeing that that is true. If you're looking for premium handmade soaps without the seed oils or other nasty hormone disruptors, then you need to check out our partners at Indigo Sundry Soap Company. You can find them at indigosundrysoap.com. And hey, if you use code Bright Hearth, all caps Bright Hearth, you get 10% off your order. So check it out and subscribe to one of their regular deliveries today. So I wanted to start by just talking about what the proverb means. Like, what does it actually mean? What imagery is being deployed here when Solomon says that an excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. So Lexy, what comes to mind for you? What do you think? I'm trying to be this. What does that mean? What are you trying to be and become? And what is the proverb actually telling women to aim for?
Well, I immediately think of becoming more beautiful, not just in a visual sense, though.
Yeah, holistically.
Yes. And I also think of, maybe it's because I am like a fan of Queen Elizabeth, but posture. Uh-huh. And I think about how she had to actually exercise and work out in order to be able to wear her crown. The
crown that she wore.
Yeah. So just like what that entails, if you want to be a crown, the type of strength required to be able to do that, and the posture, all of that just immediately comes to mind as a woman.
Yeah. And and I like, the emphasis you had there on like the holistic. It's not just outward beauty. No. A woman is a beautiful thing outwardly. God did that. That's not a bad thing, but also the inward beauty of a woman is central. Obviously, passages like 1 Peter 3, where Peter, talking to women, it warns them not just to be externally adorned, but to let their adorning be the inward person. He says, let me pull up the passage here, let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. Or even in Proverbs 31, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. You're right that an obvious first image that Solomon wants to bring to mind, it's interesting because it actually is a masculine forward image. Not that the woman is masculine, but it's a picture of a king, a male king, a king. And then his wife is like the beautiful crown on the king's head. And then something clicked for me thinking about this passage, the way that the second half of it contrasts is that he specifically talks about the opposite as a woman who brings shame is like a rottenness in his bones. And so what clicked for me was just this, that a good woman amplifies the dignity and honor of her husband, and the opposite is a woman who brings shame upon him. So that dynamic, I think, is interesting in the proverb as well. Yeah,
and I think it's important to note, too, that if a king is wearing a crown and you can see it, you can also see the shame, too. It's really obvious. Yes. It's really obvious to people when there's dysfunction.
Yeah, like you think of a good of like friends of ours where a godly man and a godly woman, and each of them together amplifies the masculinity and femininity of the other, where the maleness of a good man it's just amplified by the femininity of his wife, and her beauty and feminine strength and feminine pouring herself out in her home and building his household and all these things amplifies, and people look and they say, "What? That's a good man." But then they would also look at her and say, "That's a good woman." And together they're making this great, beautiful thing where there's like all of the themes in this proverb are rule and order and beauty and dignity versus disorder and chaos and death and shame and rottenness. And you're right that all of this is visible.
Yeah, you can't just hide it just because I think we think that you can. And so that's why we're not as quick to correct things, but you can't in the long run.
Yes. So how would you say that a woman, getting practical here about, if the concept is that a godly woman is a crown and that she adorns her husband, the home, the household, she draws emphasis to the dignity of it and the honor of it, what kind of behaviors, attitudes, virtues in a woman amplify that for that dynamic playing out and taking place?
I think like a seriousness about her work, that it matters that if this is so important that it is like public display of my husband's character. And maybe some of this is how I think of 1 Corinthians 11 also, but then it matters if I can figure out how to keep the house in order.
Yeah.
It matters that I figure out how to make sure the kids can tend to their appearance. It matters that, you know, I not in a fake way at all, but it matters that like the floors are swept when people come over and the windows are wiped down and the hands are washed of the children. Like all of that matters because it's a reflection of your husband. Yeah. And you want to be putting forth a respectable image. Yeah. It's kind of like in his work, and this plays out in Proverbs 31 as well, where her husband is known in the gates. And so he's a ruler. That's the picture in Proverbs 31. Proverbs is written to kings' sons who are going to rule. And so you have this man who's known in the gates, he's ruling, he's ordering in the city, and then his wife is like a crown adorning his work and also bringing dignity and honor on their household. But literally, when you start getting into the description of her tasks and duties, it's amazing how immediately practical it gets. Oh, yeah. Like he literally cannot do that if she is not rising while it's still night and making sure people have clothes and feeding people. And so I think you're right. Like how quickly it gets practical. And we all know it. A grubby, disheveled kid running around the church, immediately we know what comes to mind. Like there must be something going on that they can't care for that child. Yeah. And you think about, like you just said in the Proverbs, she is tending to the clothing. Yep. And even a grubby hearted little kid. Yes. Who is like, and you see, like we started a school. We have lots of kids. Literally last Sunday, there were more children in first service than adults by like 20, by a significant percentage. So we all know what it looks like to have a grubby hearted child. And we all have our kids, they have grubby hearts. Sometimes there's foolishness in them that discipline and the rod is meant to drive out, and it's difficult. But that as well is why, you think about an elder in the church, which is like a type of ruler in the ecclesial sphere. An elder is qualified or disqualified partly on the basis of his household being managed well. And that is not meaning that he does everything in the household. Partly it's meaning he has a wife who is adorning his home and who is a household keeper and assisting him in the mission. What percentage would you say of discipline in our children's lives is carried out most directly by you? Do you mean like behavioral, or do you mean, a lot? Probably 80. A lot of it, 80%. Simply because the children are here. They're here, and I just, with your job in particular, when I am out, you're pretty much mostly unavailable when I need to discipline the kids.
Oh, that's a really good point.
So
like at church.
It's different. It's not like we are very active at church and dad's always with the kids because dad's really just an engineer and a churchman. No, dad's a pastor. So when we're always at church, maybe 5% of the time dad's available.
Yeah. Psalm saying, I'm like, Alfred, come with me. Let me help get kids fed. But a lot of the time, Psalm sing starts, I'm leading the singing. I'm not even, it's not just that I'm not like spanking. It's that I am not even seeing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not right there. I'm actually leading the thing. So it's a good, and the thing is, the more responsibility your husband gets out in his vocation,
the more you do,
the more the wife does as well. And the more weight that she bears, and therefore the more opportunity that she has to either bring dignity and honor and glory and beauty, or to bring shame and distress and all of the rest. So I think that's one of the most interesting themes of this proverb that I actually had not noticed in that much depth until thinking about this episode. How much it's connected to rule and to the whole household. And like by extension, the whole nation, because it's talking about a king or whatever the husband rules over as well. Another aspect that I thought of is that as a crown, one of the very practical things she's doing is that she's taking resources and strength and order and rule that her husband is ought to be bringing in. And then she is returning it. She's returning beauty and adornment. I think that's what you're getting at partly with kids' clothing and things like that in the house. But there's this glorious dynamic of a woman that God wove into her nature, that she takes raw materials from her husband. And this is everything from his seed to his money, and returns children and beauty and order very practically. And it's just evident when, like, when you showed me this book here, Child's Garden of Verses from Robert Louis Stevenson, this illustrated classic edition that has this woman on the cover. Maybe you could describe it a little bit for the people, because I thought it was a perfect image for this.
Yeah, she just looks cheerful, and it reminds me of the Father Capon quote of "Mother is a geography." She's very, her dress is very wide and round, and there's how many children? 8 children just draped about her.
All
very, they look like they're kind of wearing Victorian dresses, but they're like trying to put flowers in her hair, trying to take a nap on her, tugging around her neck. And she just looks very like whimsical, and I wish I could look like that all the time. She's not thinking about dinner. You are every bit as beautiful. But I think that's why when I ordered this for school, I imagine this is how I look.
That is how you look a significant amount of the time.
No, it is not.
It is exactly how you look.
But in my mind, since I was a child, this is the type of mother I would be.
Yes. That's so good. Woman is a geography. I hadn't noticed that. Explain.
I've talked about that a lot. I feel like we have talked about that.
I know. It must not have
stuck out.
Like stuck in my collection of sayings.
I don't remember which of his books. I love Father Capon. He's just talking about like the roundness of women.
Like that, but she's a place.
She's a place to the child. She is a geography.
People, and it's so true, especially if you have several children and more, you understand immediately what he means. The children want to be in the country that is mother.
Yeah, they do. They want to be sitting. They want to be.
She is home.
Yes. Yes.
The house is not home.
Mom is.
The mother is home.
And I think that's just a cute.
It's so adorable.
Picture of it. If you guys want to see, I looked it up. It's
the painting.
Yeah, I looked it up in the book. It is what? Okay, it says the cover is adapted from a 1905 Jesse Smith painting.
It's really, really cute.
Yeah, it's cute. Anyways,
it's very, very adorable, and it is 100% accurate to the dignity and beauty, because there's a beauty in that literally cannot be produced by anything else other than a mom. Like a woman makes people. They're made inside of her womb. And then she is home to them. She's the nurturing foundation and base. She feeds, she clothes, she grows and nurtures and loves. And all of that results in this, like when the Proverbs also talk about It might be the Psalm. It might be Psalm 127 or 28 when it talks about it's the Psalms. When children are like arrows in the hand of a warrior. Mm-hmm. And he won't be put to shame when he's in the gate with his basically his children surrounding him. That is, I even think, I'm connecting dots in real time here that are kind of light bulbs, but in the Proverbs, it talks about the glory of a king is in his people, the number of his people, and a nation is like a family writ large. So the glory of a father even is like in his people, his children that surround him, and they're like olive shoots around his table. All of that adorning and honor and dignity and glory and resources, because people are resources. All of your children are immortal souls that are going to go out and take dominion in the world should things go well. Okay, all of that comes from this woman who is a crown. And it came because she took resources from him and she made them into beauty, dignity, honor, strength, resources.
So here's the deal. If you are disheveled in your appearance as a woman, if your children are disheveled, if your home is a wreck, for whatever reason, in the name of authenticity, in the name of lack of discipline, for whatever reason, what you are saying is there are not enough resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so I also understand that different families, different seasons of life, different jobs, different incomes, I get that. But you have to be realizing you are saying a statement about your husband. He is or is not a good provider, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to be thinking about beauty as a whole.
Yeah.
And your posture before others.
Yeah, she's thinking about, like, this is a good way to think about it, that a homemaker as a crown is a keeper of the family's dignity. She is a keeper of it.
That's a good way to put it.
Guardian of dignity in the home. And so she's like what stands between the kids going out in public in a way that would shame the family or bring glory to the family.
Yes.
And by implication, her husband's good name. Mm-hmm. And think about that. She's taking his name, joining his household. And so she will be a keeper of the dignity of the home or a rottenness in his bones. And it runs from heaven to earth. So it runs from the attitude and virtues inwardly in the people all the way through their adornment. And it's not that like little kids go out and they get dirty and they play in the yard and blah, blah, blah. It's just in a way that's befitting the setting.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not saying, oh, your kids need to be dressed head to toe in Nordstrom garb playing outside in the backyard.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that. But do you have a clean, I don't know, thrift store dress you can put on them on Sunday? Do you have a clean $1.99 Walmart shirt you can put on them on Sunday? Like that is what I mean. You
even see this in like stories from if you had family who lived through the Great Depression, where there were families that, and often it came down to because mother and father, but often mother was very diligent and cared about the dignity of the family, where they would have absolutely nothing. They would be dirt poor, and yet the kids would be scrubbed, and they would be kids. You're gonna put on, like, your clothes are gonna be mended, even though it might be the fifth time that I've mended this hole. And then there were also families where things were disordered and disheveled, and it was evident that there wasn't concern for the people there. And oftentimes those external states actually tell about inward realities related to virtue, discipline, and character. And so they're woven together. Have you read that picture book to the kids we have that's called Warm as Wool? I don't think so. If you're a knitter, get warm as wool. It's like the story of how basically yarn is created kind of through this pioneering family. Yeah. That it's very obvious that they have nothing when you start the story. And it's all because the mother has been scheming as to how to save money and take care of sheep, which are very hard to take care of, especially out in the middle of the West, just so she can clothe her children well. And like us complaining about having to go to the store or maybe spend extra time thrifting if you don't have a lot of money is nothing compared to a mother guarding these sheep with her life, literally so her children can be warm through the winter. Like, we have nothing to complain about. And that's what Proverbs 31 is talking about when it's like her children are clothed this way. Yes. They got that because they didn't have this whole industry that was creating all of it for them.
Yes.
They understood like that was the industry of a whole household and community to be able to accomplish that.
Yes.
All right, let's get a little bit practical. And I think one way that comes to mind for me to practically think about this issue is around different ages for a woman. And you'll understand what I mean as I kind of get into this. But so I'm thinking of like a woman learning how to be a crown as a young woman in adolescence and childhood, and then as a young wife, and then as a young mother, and then as an older woman. So maybe with a young woman first. And I'm thinking like literally childhood. We've got little girls now and adolescence as those young girls come up into their teen years and then looking towards marriage. How do we make young women that can be like the answer to the prayer in Psalm 144, where the psalmist says, may our sons in their youth be like plants full grown, our daughters like corner pillars cut for the structure of a palace. Very much related to the concept of a crown. This is like daughters becoming structural key elements in the family life, but also beautiful. They're in a palace wall. So how should young women be thinking about becoming a crown, and maybe even as mothers, how can we be directing them?
I mean, I think it's important to tell them what they are for from a young age.
Oh, that's good.
None of what I'm about to say do I think needs to be enforced through like conformity necessarily, as much as it is like giving them phrases to remember when they're older.
Yeah.
But I would say telling them what they're for from a young age. You know, you are a sunshine maker in your home. That's something Daphne and I have been talking about.
That's good.
You are, to be spiritually a spiritual sister to your brothers, to be encouraging to them, not discouraging to them. You are to be a crown. I talk about that all the time. I will tell the girls, one of them in particular doesn't like doing her hair. The other one loves it.
Oh boy.
So I've told her this. I'm like, you are supposed to look like a crown.
Yeah.
You're leaving the house. You need to tend to your appearance. We've been talking about how that means keeping your face clean, your hair brushed, and your teeth clean. Oh, and then the last thing that we do a lot, oftentimes, well, with both of them, but just reminding them, like, what is the most beautiful part of a woman? Like, does it matter if she has pretty lipstick and her hair is brushed or curled and she has a pretty jewelry set on?
Because they love it. They love jewelry.
Does it matter if she has a bad attitude? And they all know, no, it's the heart. And so I was even reminding one of them the other day about she was, being just a little girl, being a lazy little girl. and I was trying to tell her, I was like, what's really most beautiful is obedience. And and this isn't like some weird twisted sicko thing, like where I'm withholding love and affection for my daughter.
Right.
But it is true that I'm telling her, you obeying is more beautiful and valuable to mom and dad than the fact that you have that pretty blue necklace on.
That's right.
And all day long, when I'd see her and she'd make eye contact and smile with me, I'd say, remember, obedience is more beautiful. And she'd say, obedience more, and it really did help her.
Yeah.
It helped her to understand. So those are just that's a language I'm trying to steep them in. And sometimes it requires actual discipline if they can't heed the correction.
Yeah.
But I also just want those to be phrases that are in their head that mom is helping to guide them in this way, their whole upbringing. And we talk too about, I guess I do think about this more, sorry, especially with lazy daughters. Like, no, you are strong. You can be strong because God has given you a lot of good work to do as a woman. And something that I've even told them is like, I'll ask them, do you want to have children? And they're like, well, yeah, I want to have babies. Well, that's really hard work. If you can't do this, you can't do that. Sure enough, they just start getting to work.
It's so true. It's awesome. Like how it motivates. It's a similar thing for sons as I ask them, do you want to have a godly, beautiful wife? Well, guess who doesn't? Broke people who won't go work hard and get a job and do a good job. Like the way you just did that job, I would have fired you if you were my employee. Do you want to have a wife? It's the equivalent. That's so good. Little girls, you see that that what the proverb is talking about here aligns with God's created nature. that when you put this before a man and a woman, you say, man, do you want to be a king who rules well in his domain and brings order and life and peace from chaos? All the young men say, yes, I want to be strong. I want to be a kingly man. You say to a woman, do you want to be a beautiful, adorning glory on your husband's head? Do you want to bring honor and dignity to everywhere you go such that people would say, she is a beautiful crown? Oh, of course, I want that. It's in the translating it down into, okay, well, let me tell you about what that looks like on Monday morning.
If you want that, you also want this.
Yes. And if you don't want this hard work, you actually don't want to be the king or the crown.
Yes.
You want to be the pauper or the bone cancer, right? Mm-hmm. So getting our children from their youth to understand the targets is so important. Giving them these proverbs and giving them these basically, what am I trying to become with my youth and grow into as a woman?
I've been using the Girl's Guide to Home Skills as well as Beautiful Girlhood for several months now.
Mm-hmm. Are those books?
Yeah, they're books with one of our girls. I had gone through Beautiful Girlhood several years ago, and it kind of helped me with that language before she was really old enough to understand. So if you have little baby girls, I do still recommend getting that book at least and understanding what your daughter is for. But the Girl's Guide to Home Skills is also really helpful just because it's kind of like letters written to a little girl from her Aunt Sophie, and why hospitality matters, why taking the time for others matters, all of that. But it goes through each room of the house and it's little,
oh, that's sweet,
little checklists, how to clean a trash can. I'm trying to think I think we did our emergency kit. Well, yeah, when the power went out, actually on Monday, one of the boys got down our emergency kit, and I was like, oh yeah, Daphne, you and I put this together last year. Look, we get to use it now.
That's awesome.
That was from this book, I think, that we got that out of. Anyways, it's just been really helpful for her to have, this language as we're correcting and going about our work in the week. These are the spines of her vocational training right now.
Yes. And it's so good for our daughters to understand this, that when the Psalm says that may your daughters be like corner pillars cut for the structure of a palace or the palace wall. That's a beautiful thing, but it's also a structurally essential thing. You cannot have, the people of God are like the palace. They're like the temple of God. They're living stones built up in a structure for God to dwell in. You cannot have the structural integrity of a community without glorious, beautiful, godly women and glorious, dignified, godly men. You have to have both. And so our daughters need to understand when we talk about male headship or when we talk about finding a husband to submit to, we're not saying find that the men carry all of the weight of the community. Our daughters actually need to understand that a significant portion of the weight of a community is carried by women being a glory, by women being what God intended for them to be. How about a young wife? I'm thinking in early marriage, kids aren't there yet. She's learning how to be a crown. And this is kind of like God gives us training wheels where you don't get married and then have 10 kids in 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. He's faithful to give us more weight progressively. So the first days of the wedding, after the wedding, it's like you're learning how to be a wife and you haven't been one yet. And he's learning how to be a husband. How can a wife be learning in those young married years to adorn her husband, to be a keeper of dignity in the home, the keeper of his good name, and not a rottenness in his bones?
I would say this is a really good time to just really hone in on respectful behavior, making sure you're not interrupting a lot, being snotty, being sarcastic.
When you have a busy house, the immediate demands of activities, events, and never-ending to-do lists can overshadow critical long-term decisions. Life insurance, financial planning, education savings, and retirement are continually backburnered. Joe Garrissey and his team from Backwards Planning Financial will help you maximize financial tools, management, and strategies so you can focus on your home and have confidence for your financial future. Visit backwardspanningfinancial.com. That is backwardspanningfinancial.com, or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to develop a plan for the future. Wives, you know your husband would fight for your family without hesitation. But every knight needs armor, and in today's world, that means ballistic protection made for the modern defender. Armored Republic makes real armor for real men, law-abiding citizens, fathers, husbands, protectors. Visit armoredrepublic.com. That's armoredrepublic.com, or text JOIN, all caps JOIN, to 88027 and help your husband stand strong. Hey there, friends. Let me tell you about Gray Toad Tallow. They're a family-owned small business passionate about creating skincare products that nourish your skin with pure, wholesome ingredients. For centuries, tallow has been valued for its moisturizing and healing properties, and Gray Toad Tallow is dedicated to sharing these benefits with your family. They strive to keep their products affordable and accessible, aiming to be a blessing to you and your family. Visit graytoadtallow.com to learn more and try a balm sample pack. And don't forget to use code BRIGHT15, that's all caps, BRIGHT15, for 15% off your order. Thanks for supporting this great small business. Ready to feel like yourself again? Rebecca Belch, founder of Live Oak Integrative Health, is a board-certified functional medicine provider helping women and families achieve lasting generational health. Using advanced testing and personalized care, she uncovers the root causes and builds sustainable plans for every stage of life. And Bright Hearth listeners can get $50 off any of 3 packages. So head to liveoakintegrativehealth.com to schedule your free call, and make sure you tell her that Bright Hearth sent you for $50 off one of 3 packages.
I think the other thing I would say is now is the time to get a really good feel for how he wants the household run.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I were talking about this recently. It is not true that the woman is the CEO of the home.
No, that's not the correct metaphor for the wife's role.
So some husbands genuinely might not care how you get the laundry done. You know, there's husbands on all ends of the spectrum. Some of them might really care how the toilets are cleaned. Some of them might only care about certain rooms in the house. But I think this, when there's not kids around yet, I think this is a good time for you to get a feel for what your husband does care about and to really hone in on those things, so you're not trying to figure out those things while being a parent.
Yeah.
Some of it he won't know until he has kids, you know?
Totally.
But I think it's a really good time to like ask him, you know, I don't know, all sorts of questions like, what kind of food do you want us spending our money on? Do you prefer that I clean a little bit every day, or would you prefer that I have one day a week that I get my cleaning done so we are free to do other things other days of the week? Would you prefer that, like, I remember when the kids were younger and I was just like, I'm not a cleaning necessarily by nature. I feel guilty if I'm not being productive with something type of a person. But I remember you getting to the point of having to tell me, like, actually what's most important is that you can be cheerful when I walk in the door, not that the house is picked up. And I was like, wait, what? Because in my mind, that isn't productive.
And then the husband walking in the door becomes a hindrance to the important thing.
Yes. So for you, that was helpful to have, like, especially when we only had little kids. And even now that we have to get, like, the house, I can't just do that now. So even now it's helpful to be like, okay, so what should I focus on then?
Yeah.
Should I focus on all the rooms at once? Should I focus on the top floor, the bottom floor? Like, and I know this sounds silly, and husbands should not be micromanagers, but I think it's a really good time, a really good season in your life to figure out all of those things. What kind of food does he like to eat?
Yeah. And for a young husband in that time, it is really helpful to kind of learn the balance, and it's different for every husband and wife. So I'm not making hard and fast rules here that apply to every single person. You have to know each other, but he's trying to figure out the difference between leadership and micromanagement, especially when it comes to the home. I think it's good for him to say, my wife was wired by God to adorn and bring beauty and adornment in the home. So how can I get out of the way more in terms of a lot of the day-to-day decisions about what should this look like? Where should this piece of furniture go? And more be like a tell me where to put it and I'll get it there kind of guy. Mm-hmm. I have been historically too involved in that. It's like early in our marriage, especially. I think this was something that was like, I cared too much about it. and then figured out that I wasn't as good at it as my wife anyway. Like just decorating things or like caring where stuff was.
I was going to say, I don't feel like you were ever this way.
Maybe it was just more inward or something, like where I thought about it a lot. And also just the state of we were poor. So there were things that I was like, oh, I wish that I could help, do
we
this
were never
for my wife
poor
or whatever. We were
never
rich.
poor.
Well, the
Not that
state
I'm aware
of Utah's socioeconomic demographic studies would say that we were in the lower economic rung. But it's good for a husband to learn how to give his wife the direction she needs, but then also not be fussy or micromanaging her. So he is the CEO of his home. He's saying, this is the vision for where we're going. These are the most important things for, like in a business, a CEO is saying, these are the most important things we can accomplish right now. Put everything to the side. This is what we're doing. And this is who's doing it. Here's where the seats are. This is the roles. He's leading the team. He's making sure it's happening. And then she is in the home executing and doing these things and making them happen. But he needs to make sure that a good CEO also knows, like, in our company, I'm not the CEO, I'm the president, but at New Christendom Press, if there's a creative video decision to make, I am not even though I am higher on the chart, I'm not going to be the one that makes that call. I'm going to be the one that says the call actually is Evan is in charge of this. And that's the call I need to make.
Because you trust.
Because he's I trust that's what he's really good at. And that's what he's here for. And so, like, as a husband, sometimes that means helping your wife see the most important thing to me is that I know that you like me and want to be around me, that you have a good attitude. And if genuinely it is so stressful for you to keep X level of whatever organization or
it
balls
was like
in the
a
air,
standard I had imposed,
right?
Which was subjective, versus actually don't lose the plot.
Like a CEO could have an employee that's such a good employee that he will work till 2 a.m. every day to get stuff done if you let him.
Yeah.
And actually the CEO needs to say, dude, you are not allowed to work.
That is me.
And that's Lexi.
That is me.
Martin is like that at New Christendom Press too.
Hey,
he's like,
we just took our personality.
And you guys are the same. It's so funny because you guys literally are the same.
No wonder when we did our book launch,
and it was a pretty rare
Martin's
personality.
Great. It's so funny.
It's a rare personality for a woman to have. But anyway.
But I do want to say, like, when I can think of like the top 5 women in my life that I'm like, wow, I want to be like all of them when I grow up. All of them. Their husband has a huge say in their life, how they spend their time, their resources, the way they look, everything. They are willing to be conformed to their husband's standard.
Yeah.
And I have such respect for them because I'm like, man, you're humble. I know how much humility it takes to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You're submissive. You're godly. You have this godly character. And so I think that's something that young wives need to hear is let your husband disciple you.
Yes.
Don't kick against the goads in that way, in that season.
Yep.
Anyways.
How about a mother and the young, because kids start coming, Lord willing, and then things get, the difficulty level gets amped up. And it can be what was easier, learning how to have a good, pleasant attitude towards your husband when there were fewer stresses, gets more difficult when there are more. Yeah,
I think Rachel Jankovic talks about how, like, sanctification when she was in middle school was just so easy and glorious, just like sitting by the window all day. God's world's so beautiful. And then you're thrown in the rock tumbler when you're parents. I think that's such a good metaphor for it. But
like when you have a lot of time to journal.
Exactly. Yes.
Versus where'd all the journaling time go? And where is my journal? Oh, they stole it and they used it to color in. That's cool. I appreciate that. Thanks, kids.
I think it's really important to not let the tyranny of the urgent crowd out the necessary in this season. So trust me, you do have time to read your Bible.
Yeah.
You do have time to get your attitude in place. You are literally lying to yourself if you say that you do not have time to be alone with the Lord to get your priorities straight. But a lot of people just tell themselves this narrative of like, I don't have time. I have too much work. I'm too tired. The baby was up last night. all of these things, all these excuses, but it is literally part of your duty to be able to carry on that necessary good work of being with the Lord so you can get everything else in place.
Yeah. The kids aren't being so much work and so difficult in whatever season you're in that it's okay for you to be super rude to everybody around you.
No.
And that's just not true. The Lord isn't going, oh yeah, no, that's fine. She can be a real witch for the next year. The kids are just a lot. God would never say that to you.
No.
He would say, actually, the first person you need to spank is you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's so hard. It's easy to say that. It's hard to do it for all of us because we really do like to give ourselves a pass on the most important things by changing the subject.
And I've been saying this a lot more recently is there isn't a silver bullet. The only solution is maturing
self-control
by the grace of the Lord. And just realizing that grace really is there to strengthen you for the tasks in this season and not to give up and give in to fatalism or I don't know, anxieties or laziness, or even if you genuinely feel like you lack wisdom, then go ask other people who are doing really well in this and apply what they say. And don't just be like, oh, you know what? She just is naturally really good at that. I guarantee you it's not true. No. I bet she's probably working longer, harder than you are.
Yep.
and that difference right there is lack of character. And don't hear what I'm saying and feel like this is heaping on shame. The cool thing is God can grow you in your virtues. Is it 1 Peter?
Yeah.
The chain of virtues, one thing leads to another. So it's not despairing. It's okay, Lord, help me. You've done that for her. Help me.
Yeah. The neat thing about the Lord is that he delights to forgive you, restore you, and set you back on your feet when you just repent.
Yes.
So when you find that you've been unvirtuous and sinning in a way, the thing is, you don't have to come up with an elaborate justification for why you were doing that. We know why you were doing it. It's because you're a sinner.
Yeah.
And that you have the flesh. That's why we all sin. So you don't have to spend any more time coming up with any justification for it. You can simply say to the Lord and to those you sinned against, I sinned. It was bad. There's no excuse for it. It was as bad as it was. And can you please forgive me? And then you can, the Lord literally delights to say, oh, you're forgiven. Come back in. Let's have a party.
And the reason I'm thinking of spiritual disciplines in this season is because the people that I've known who remain consistently steadfast and mature in all these different seasons, the continual thread is they have this down.
Yes.
So this habit that has carried them through all of these different seasons, for me, I got to the place of if I want to be a person who reads my Bible, I read my Bible.
Yeah, it sounds so simple.
But it is.
But there's no other
literally
way.
is. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
So that might be reading your Bible when you're laying in bed in the morning on the phone because you want to stay in bed.
Fine.
Or it may be like me where you get up early to read the Bible so the kids aren't around. Or you may be the type of mom that likes to do it while you're drinking coffee at the table feeding your kids cereal.
Great.
But the key is you're a person who reads your Bible.
And there's the people who read their Bible, the thing about them is that there are people who read the Bible.
And right there alone, that step is growth in that Christian virtue of this is important enough that I'm going to do it at the breakfast table. I'm going to do it while walking on the treadmill. I'm going to do it while the kids play in the backyard. Yep. I'm going to do it while, sitting in the dentist's office. You are a person who reads your Bible, so you figure out how to read your Bible.
Yeah, it's if you want to be the woman who is pleasant to your husband, then be pleasant to your husband. Stop thinking about it. Stop doing
it's so
discussions
true.
with other women about it.
You can get in your head all sorts of things like homemaking or, I don't know, prettier people than you or better disciplined kids. You're in the moment, you're facing the temptation of being the opposite of what you want to be. And you're just well, I bet she had a better day. I bet she had more money. I bet he did this for her, but my husband's doing this. I bet her kids weren't like this. And it's no.
Yep.
She had that moment. And in that moment, she chose one thing and you choose the other.
And you didn't see the hardships.
And the reason I say it like this, I'm not trying to be rude, but it is so much more helpful when you realize that's the solution.
The solution is to do the solution that you know is the solution, but you're not doing.
that's it. It's not more money. It's not different circumstances. It's not like there's that quote from Elizabeth Elliot. It's, the key is Christ in you, not you in a different set of circumstances.
Yep.
There's been so many times I've thought about that. Like, okay. And you know what? Elizabeth Elliot, plug for Elizabeth Elliot. I listened to her audio like nonstop the first year of mothering. And it was so helpful for me to just have those little phrases again in your head of like, don't do that, Lexy. Don't do that, Lexy. Anyways.
Yeah, there is no other way around it. If you want to be a crown, you have to do the things that a crown does.
She sparkles.
She sparkles.
She looks pretty.
She has a gentle and quiet spirit. She is honoring
She's with
of
her husband. She's in her home. Like,
she speaks well of him. She believes the best of him.
Yes.
She fights for his good. And some of you are thinking right now, but my husband is blank. And the thing is, the starting point in virtue is never to focus on all of the other people who aren't being virtuous. That's never the starting point. That's never step one. It can be an obstacle to some of the virtues that you put. Genuinely, it's a hard obstacle when people are being unvirtuous around you to be more virtuous. It's easier when you have a community of virtuous people being virtuous to be virtuous. But we never start by saying, man, Lord, like I know I'm supposed to be this virtue and that virtue, but aren't you aware of all the people not being virtuous around you? And you'd say, yeah.
I was in a situation recently where Pastor Garrett was counseling me, and he told me, just remember, because you've been sinned against, you're not allowed to take off the cloak of virtue.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
I see.
You're right.
Oh.
And I wasn't feeling that way at all. It was not, I think you probably remember what these circumstances were, but I was so glad he said that, because there were multiple times over that next week that I was like, oh, Pastor Garrett reminded me of this. Yep. Don't take it off.
Not allowed to take off the cloak of virtue. I'm not allowed to put back on the works of the flesh and put off compassionate hearts, kindness, meekness, humility, all these things that Paul talks about. Okay, last one, and then we'll move into, we have one question for this episode. How about an older woman learning to be a crown and growing more and more as a crown in her age, dignity and strength? Where do you think the ditches are for an older woman, and the how to keep the wheels on the road?
Oh, I mean, I think in today's culture, the ditch is definitely in the boomer ditch of like, I'm going to be in Spain for the rest of your grandkids' whole childhood.
Sure.
You know, or at the spa or whatever. I think that's a huge, huge ditch. And the way you stay out of it is you just stay around your kids.
You're the keeper of your husband's dignity and legacy. But think about this. Your legacy is your children's children.
Yeah, it doesn't stop at your kids.
His name continues. The household continues.
And I think that's the lie that the boomers believed, was that it actually does stop there. So once, you know, they get that last high school diploma in their hand, they're gone. They're done. You're on your own.
Yeah, at their worst.
And it's actually like, that's when they need you even more.
Yeah, lately my dad has been just showing up like randomly. He'll just shoot us a text and say, hey, I'm going to the dump. Which one of the kids wants to come? And if you don't know this about kids, the dump is like heaven for most of them. So
they were stoked.
Or, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and it's so amazing when you could just serve yourself.
You could.
Because you're retired, or if you've worked hard, and you have worked hard and you saved money and you did that.
Yeah.
Nobody can go, that's all my money.
My time
they
is
earned
now
it.
mine. Yeah.
But when it's a godly older man or a godly older, grandfather, grandmother, they're thinking, because they're godly, how can I experience the most joy, which is going to be in serving still. It's going to be still in being used for the glory of God, and thinking like, how can I adorn and make sure that my legacy, my generations are adorned with glory going on down. And
I think this isn't always natural for some people. And I think even in that, like Titus 2 can be a help to you in understanding if things like loving husbands and children and grandchildren in this situation is something that can be taught, then it's something I can learn. If I don't feel like I'm a good grandmother, or I didn't have a good example of this, or my grandparents died, or I feel selfish and I honestly don't like to be around my grandkids. You can learn this though. Ask the Lord to help you. You can be a crown to your grandkids and your children even.
Yeah. Do you want to be a hag? Nobody sets out and says, I would really like to be a huge hag that nobody wants to be around. And frankly, I don't want to be around them. That's not how any good story presents the protagonist, where they're like, you know what? And then they were a hag and they lived happily ever after by themselves as a hag. But the thing is, like, whether you're a young girl or a young wife or a young mother or an older woman and a grandmother, and you realize like, I have not been very good at this. Again, the elites don't want you to know this, but you can just repent.
Yeah,
and
like everyone seriously.
Legitimately, when people repent, what's your attitude towards them? It's like, oh, praise God. I'm so glad that you said that because I noticed that you had been walking in that and I forgive you and this is great. Like, repentance draws out mercy. And so just like you can just turn. Even I was thinking, your mom does this too. She comes over all the time, helps out. My mom, same thing. It's just when you have older women who they've been there, they get a lot of it, and they're willing to jump in and be a help and be pleasant also. Like, I think we have good examples of women who have even, I think you are even more patient and virtuous than you were 10 years ago and the 10 years before that. So it's like you don't get to 40 and you're done becoming more virtuous and now you just rest on your virtue laurels. You can become more and more patient and more long-suffering and more gentle and kind and helpful.
There was some book some context of looking at aging in the Bible. I don't remember where it was, and I really wish I did because it was so helpful. But they were talking about that verse where Paul says, press on, forgetting what is behind, I continue to press on.
Yeah.
And the author was applying it to older people, saying, you need to take heed because you're going to want to settle. You're going to want to stop pressing on. Yeah. And Paul's call to you is to continue. Forget all the virtue that you grew as, parents of little children. Yeah. You need to now grow virtue as grandparents and press on.
Yep. You forget what lies behind and you press forward.
Yes. And I was like that, it just helped describe a lot of what I was seeing around me. So if you're in that season, press on.
Press on. Excellent. So women, be a crown, not a curse. One question here to round out our episode. We received this question just last week from a listener in Grants Pass, Oregon. They said, hey, Brian and Lexy, thank you so much for all that you do. Cannot even begin to tell you how encouraged and convicted I've been by Bright Hearth. Thank you for saying that. That's encouraging. We're glad that it's been helpful. And they said, my question is regarding toddlers and the chaos stage. Side note, great name for it. Great name. My little one turns 1 on Sunday, yay, and has started getting into all caps everything in the house. She has plenty of toys and stuff to keep her busy, but she only wants to pull books off the bookshelf or dig through my sewing basket, etc. I feel like I'm following her around all day, spanking and saying no, and even trying to redirect feels fruitless because as soon as I walk away, she's right back into everything. How do I best handle this with grace and love and also instill discipline and respect for things? Thank you, Sam in South Dakota. Okay, South Dakota.
I was going to say,
it said Grants Pass, Oregon from maybe that was the area code. My bad. Thank you, Sam in South Dakota. No one else identifies. Your toddler's the only one who's ever acted like this, so it's probably a defective one. I'm just kidding. This is all toddlers are like this. This is what they do. And my first advice to you is to buckle up and learn to embrace the Lord's instruction of patience in your heart through this discipline. But there's practical things
There are practical things. One of them is, if it sounds to me like this is your only child, it really is a lot harder when there's only like 1 or 2
It's funny,
kids.
but
I feel like after 3, that chaos is a little less so because they have other people to entertain them instead of things to entertain them.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. There are still messes at my house all the time, but I do think that helps.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, a garden of yes. You want to explain that?
Yeah. I mean, the more that you can just say, wow, 5 times this week, my little person got into my sewing basket. And then you think to yourself, well, the sewing basket is mobile. I could put it up on a high shelf. And a 1-year-old can't get, like, they're mischievous, but they're not that mischievous. They can't get to it. And then they'll find the next thing. And you're just slowly like figuring out all of the most common things that they love to mess up that you really don't want them to mess up. You really can't just say, hey, no big deal if you get into the sewing basket and ruin everything in there. That's actually not an acceptable solution. But as much as I can just say, make my home a garden of yes, with as few no's as possible, then I'm going to help serve my child. And it's living with them with understanding their frame. God made them like this. This is how they're information collecting devices. They go around and they search out. It's the glory of toddlers to search a thing out. And that's how they grow. God did that. So you're not going to change the nature of the toddler.
No.
You can direct it, and you really do need to discipline and teach them about respect and boundaries and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But even when you do that, they're still going to have this nature where they're like, I wonder what that tastes like. And you say, my little sister in Christ, that is a rock.
Yeah.
Or a light bulb. That's not for eating.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, but for some reason I had a deep heart desire to lick it. And like God did that.
Yeah. All of my craft stuff is in either our room or the downstairs room.
Yeah.
And so if that's like I move that sort of a thing so Alfie can't get into it. But what can't be moved is our tub in our bathroom.
Yeah.
And even if I try to keep the door locked as much as I can, Alfie just knows when it's left
He tests
unlocked. So he runs in there and he throws all of his toys in the tub and turns the water on.
Does he really do that?
Yes.
I've never seen
this. This has been like the last.
Oh my god!
You haven't seen all the toys at the bottom of the tub?
This is terrible. He's got to stop.
He started this when you guys went to Florida.
Oh my goodness. When Ben and I went to Florida to do a crossover show for Haunted Cosmos with Ninjas Are Butterflies, which you guys should all go listen to. This was the cost of it though.
Okay, but here's the thing is like, I don't want to choose the fight of him getting in the knitting basket. So I put that away. I have to win the fight of the bathtub though.
It's true. The battle of the bathtub.
I have to discipline when that happens. I say, we do not play in the water. No toys in the tub. And we get a little swat and we move along.
No toilet water, no bath water.
So because the reason I'm giving these two examples is because there are some things in the house you just cannot change.
You have to win the fight.
You don't want to be so child-centered and so the house is a garden of yes, that you're child-centric.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
They learn if you do that the world exists for their pleasure.
Correct. So you do need to be able to say like, no, that is a planter. It has a flower in it. We look at the flower. We don't dig in the dirt. You know, they need to be able to have those instructions, but the way they can heed those instructions is with hard and fast no's. Like, we don't play in the bathtub.
Nope. No bathtub, no water. That's a big one. We're just kids without authorization. Inside or outside?
No water.
You do not, because water outside, what does it make? It makes mud. Water inside, what does it make? It makes huge messes. So there's just no water. Like you can drink water. Wonderful.
Yeah.
You may not play in water. It's just absolutely no. And the thing is, you have to like discipline. The way it works is that you do the same thing 10,000 times. And then they grow to the next stage of the disciplining and maturing process, and the next stage of development. And they become a teenager, and then they become an adult. It's like you don't have success when you no longer have to do the discipline, even though eventually that you're going to not have to tell a 16-year-old not to throw their toys in the bathtub.
Yeah.
But like when they're in that stage, you're probably going to have to tell them that a lot. And they might not stop doing it until they're into the next stage. The temptations of all ages are particular to those ages. Like the temptation of a 14-year-old boy is going to be like, I just hit puberty and my hormones are telling me lust after everything that moves.
But you shouldn't
it's a different thing from an 8-year-old.
Just say it's a stage, they'll get over it.
No, you discipline consistently through it.
Because here's the example with the teenager that you just gave. If the teenager can't be self-controlled in the pew on Sunday morning, where's that self-control going to suddenly come from as a 15-year-old?
Yep.
So you do have to, like, the self-control is the through thread in all
muscle.
those seasons.
Yes. And the maturity level in the stage determines how the temptation will come, in what exact form. But the temptation is always just to not be self-controlled, to not have the fruit of the Spirit. to not be gentle and patient and loving and
anymore.
kind.
When I'm correcting the kids, it almost always is come back to, it's because you're lacking self-control.
Yep.
You know not to use that tone of voice. You know to act this way, not that way. You know you ought not act that way at the table.
Yep.
You're lacking the self-control.
Yeah, self-mastery, self-rule. And then again, do you want to be a king? Do you want to be a crown? Well, then you want to have self-control, because that's how kings are formed. That's how crowns are formed. So keep at it, take heart, keep being consistent. And thanks for sending that question in, Sam from South Dakota. And as a reminder, we do try to take up at least one question every episode from our send us a text button on the podcast description. We can't answer those, but we do see them. So make sure that you send in your questions, and we'll try to get through them as quick as we can. Thanks everybody again for listening. And just as a reminder, you can pick up Lexy's new book, Wisdom on Her Tongue, at newchristendompress.com/wisdom, or support the show at patreon.com/Bright Hearth. And that link is in the description. And we really appreciate all of the support for the show and for this project and everything at New Christendom Press that you guys make happen. And so thanks for listening. Lord bless you, and we'll see you next time on Bright Hearth.